Our meeting here we are in beautiful Sugar Camp, Wisconsin, home of the state speaking soil and water conservation speaking finalist. Congratulations to him and his parents and the school. It's a great thing. So let's start our meeting by standing and saying Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, thank you for spending your time with us tonight. Beautiful outside, but it's even better in here, right? All right. If we could start off with administrator's report on agenda posting and notification of the meeting to the media.
Yes, the agenda was posted at Three Lakes School, Sugar Camp School in the town of Sugar Camp, the town of Three Lakes, and the town of Monaco by email. And the media notified was Vilas County News, the Northwoods River News, WRJO News, WXPR Radio, and WACD, WATK Radio.
All right. Thank you for that. Next up to bat, we have amendments and approval agenda.
I would like to propose that we move item 5K, which is the School Forest Highway A property update report, to directly after item new business 5A, the April meeting, because Phil Kriesel is here from MSA, and I thought it would be nice if he didn't have to spend his whole evening with us.
What if he chooses to stay?
Then he's more than welcome. There are cookies.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the amendments that were just made by Terry.
I second.
All right, so we have a motion by Stacy, second by Colette, and any other further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye? Is that aye down there?
Aye, sorry.
Very good. All right. Motion passes 4-0. Next, routine approvals, approving minutes of the February 16th, 2022 regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve the February 11th, 2022, I'm sorry, February 16th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
Okay.
All right. Motion by Josh, second by Stacy. Any other further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. Motion passes 4-0. Next, we have approved vouchers / check register for the period of February 11th, 2022 through March 9th, 2022.
Make the motion to approve the checks dated February 11th, 2022 through March 9th, 2022 for accounts payable, checks number 2122-00133 through 2122-00165, regular checks number 126116 through 126219, and manual checks number 5276 through 5286 in the amount of $562,234.54. And ACH payroll checks number 9000-37106 through 9000-37318, and regular payroll checks number 59188 through 59202 in the amount of $309,808.97 for a total amount of $872,043.51.
Second.
All right. So the motion by Josh, second by Stacy. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
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 Motion passes 4-0. All right. Next, we have public comments. Would anybody wish to speak to an agenda item tonight? This is your chance. You want it to be a quick meeting, huh? All right. We'll move forward to administrator's report. Terry.
No separate report. Everything is addressed in new business this evening.
Okay. On to new business. April meeting dates.
I would propose we schedule our regular meeting for April 20th, 2022. That would be our third Wednesday as normally scheduled. I would also like to suggest that if we should need a special meeting to come back and visit the Highway A property or the 4K building project proposal, that we would look at doing that on, oh, my screen went dead. The earliest would be March 30th, but preferably April 6th, with just 3 weeks out. That would give spring break time to occur in there and a couple of weeks to get additional information should we need to gather any.
Okay. So, at this point here, something to consider. 'Cause,
Correct.
we haven't crossed that bridge yet, but I know I will be out of town that week, so, but you can do without me too. All right. Next we have setting the date for board administrative / staff retreat. Or, let's see here, we're gonna do the highway parcel. Let's slide down. Okay, we are now going to the school forest Highway A property update report. Who's starting?
I will start. I just wanted to set the stage this evening to remind everyone that this has been quite a process to get to this point. In the last meeting, which I did actually revisit, which is nice to have that on YouTube, we had a lot of questions answered, and then we had several more questions, which I believe Phil has shared information with Justin, and that will be addressed tonight. I think it's really important that knowing the timeline that we're facing with the short summer season that we have and the activities we want to see develop with our trail system, as well as having our stations come to be after learning about all the activities our staff want to put forth, as well as the placement of the range. We want to kind of nail down out of all these plans what direction we want to go with, and really kind of weed out down to what are we looking at. So I'm asking everyone to listen with a real close ear tonight to see what we can do. Although we have three very important components that we're trying to address all at the same time, a couple of key situations have to be determined in site location before we go forward with other planning. So I wanted to preface it with that tonight and then turn it over to Justin and to Phil.
Thank you, Terry. First of all, thank you, Phil, for coming. I appreciate having you here because there's some questions that may come up that you'll be able to address a lot quicker this way without having to go through me as a middleman the day after one of these meetings. But so to take the baton from Terry, what we're going to do, or what I'm going to do fairly quickly, hopefully, is I've got a little packet for each one of you that I think addresses some ideas and questions that came up at the last board meeting and since. So here's hard copies because I wasn't sure. I know we had a little outage out here this morning. I wasn't sure as to what you want to keep that.
I'm dead.
So I'm just going to flip through these fairly quickly, and then I'll turn the mic over to Phil, the professional in this world. The first item on in the table of contents there is the image you see up on the screen, and you got a hard copy there if you want to make notes or whatever. This is a combination of obviously our walking trail we talked. Walking trail we talked about the last and presented the last meeting that has the different stations around. In addition to the trap range moved over to the east, as was suggested, or the idea that came out last board meeting. If you'll notice something that's different, the two shooting stations that are going in first have been shifted to the east. The version that you would have seen last month had them on the west two. Every rendition we've got so far shows two shooting stations as what we would be going with right now, and room for expansion if it needed to be. If this was something that took off and we want to host a big meet, you would want to have more stations. But so there's a shift there. You see the spot in this model. You see a spot for the shelter, the outdoor classroom there, and the porta potty pads, parking, driveway. This kind of, I know it gets busy when you put the walking trail in with it, but there you can kind of see, you would certainly want to, we would tweak the walking trail to reflect going around there, so that you're not going right where the shooting stations would be. But that would be a simple enough move, okay? That's number one. Number two, the idea was presented or requested, hey, maybe we look at separate parking and entry facilities. That's what this drawing depicts. Again, thank you, Phil, because when we ask, he, within usually hours, it shows up in my inbox. I really appreciate that, because I've worked with some engineers where that wasn't the case in the previous places I've been, so thank you for that. So this would reflect the spot where your trap range, parking, access, driveway is separate from where our outdoor classroom, access, driveway, and parking would be. That's a rendition of what that would look like, obviously with the proposed walking trails in there as well. And I should note, and I think you know this, but the walking trail, that piece of it, that's on us. Phil, we're putting the work on trap range, parking lot, driveway, where we're going to build a shelter for if it's bad weather kind of thing. But the rest of that is that's for us to figure out down the line as far as construction and specific design of that. But that's something we know. That's part of the deal. Here is just the trap range singled out with the obviously the spot is moved over to the east. Now, because that's what was asked for or to see at our last board meeting. Now, like I said earlier, the two stations that we build right away are over there to the east side of the parcel more. This reflects a 22.5, I believe, degree tilt. A tilt was talked about at our last meeting. I think Phil will probably give us a little bit more specific information about the tilt when he gets the mic, but there's some pluses certainly from a space standpoint, but also some drawbacks that I'll let Phil elaborate on a little bit when he goes. But that's the moving the range to the east and tilting it to the west 22 degrees. This is what it would look like with a tilt 45 degrees back to the west. Same concept, just obviously a bigger tilt. That would be number 4 in your, if you're paging along in your handout there. Number 5. That's just the, without the trail imposed onto the drawing, that's the separate entrances, separate driveways for outdoor classroom with parking, and then trap range with the parking, obviously over there to the east side. Page number 6, if I'm going through them correctly, this is the original. This was what was first drafted up that we went from, and that was kind of the first rendition, the first draft. Which I dug really deep into the files, because this has been, as Terry indicated, it's been a 3.5 year sort of process to this point. And it's interesting because there are some, it looks like handwritten drawings that look a lot like this. and then this is a lot more professional, of course, and to scale. But then there is also a second one with a notch over to the east with a little tilt to it. But those are handwritten. You can see like with a Sharpie or something like that in one of the files. But so we're still kind of along the same. We're on the right road as to what the first folks who were working on this were thinking. All right. Now, the next one, I'm going to show you. This is not a Phil drawing. This is a Justin drawing. There were some questions brought up about shot fall and where the majority of the lead shot is going to be. And I totally get it. The environmental concerns are real, right? This drawing right here depicts those red lines that you see up on the screen are 115 yards of real estate. All right? Doing some research on the ballistics of a shotgun fired from shoulder height and how much downrange distance we get with those pellets. 7.5 shot, according to what you can find if you believe Encyclopedia Google. All right, it goes about 110 yards. Okay, we as a rule shoot 8 shots, so laws of physics will tell us it's going to drop a little bit sooner. All right. Anyway, the red lines show you 115 yards from approximately, if we move the trap range was over there on the east side, that's approximately as far as the bulk of the lead shot would go. Certainly with the correct wind, and if the barrel was pointed higher, you could get a shade more with that. That's why they have the bigger arcs on some of the drawings. But I would tell you that without a doubt, a bulk of your shot is going to fall in that area, represented, that, extended to those red lines. That would be number 7 on your packet. Let's see now. Close that one down. Here is a little bit different look at that without the line. This is now the shaded area that that would need tree clearing, obviously, but also in just about perfectly to scale, that where that shaded area ends, that northwest facing flat surface, that's the furthest extending into, that's about the same as that 115 yard from where the shooting stations would be, just to give you a visual kind of where the lead shot, or where the shot area is going to fall. All right. Next in your packet, you've got this picture. This is not new to you. This is something that you saw last month, but I wanted to put in here to remind you that this is something that we, as a school, would be leading the charge on. I've had a number of folks just chomping at the bit, ready to go. Let's get, and to me, this is a timeline thing too, because I would love to spend many days this summer out there, leading a crew working on this, but I also know I have principling to do. So I want to make sure we get this going, get the wheels turning whenever we can, so we can start those things. And last but certainly not least, most of these are courtesy of Phil, letting us know kind of what the next, if we get a green light to, in concept, in theory, yes, let's do this or this or this. Here's kind of the next layout of what happens. Contract for the design, collect surface data. I think it's important to note that as you go down there to number 5, permit the land disturbance with the DNR. We've already gotten, as Ms. Maney could attest to, we've already gotten a lot of involvement, a lot of engagement with the DNR. Okay, everything is all a go, all green light, all copacetic. Everything's great from the keepers of our state's natural resources, right? However, they're going to get another kick at this thing, right? Like if there's anybody out there that's talking to you worried about the environmental impact of this, the DNR is going to be involved in the permitting process again. So there is another level of involvement of the folks whose careers are spent keeping our waters, our soils, our land safe. So I think that's a reassurance for me, at least, because I want to do the right thing environmentally too. So that's the 7-step process, and that little asterisk at the bottom is just, again, a reminder that MSA is working on, and Phil is working on the design of the driveways, the parking lots, the spot where we build, the trap range, but that is not something that's included in the tab there. The trail is us. So that's, I'm sorry it took too long, but that's I think getting at the questions that were brought up at last month's board meeting and since then. Now, without further ado, I will let Phil run with anything that he can add to what I threw out there.
Okay.
Mr. Kriesel, go ahead.
One thing that I picked up from your talk is that there's concern about the lead. Okay, so we can mitigate that relatively easily with screens beyond the trap field that actually won't let the shot go beyond a certain point. They can either be kept up on poles and cables all the time, or they can be dropped down when you're not shooting, and when you're going to shoot, you can pull these screens up, and it's just a barrier to block the shot. It's beyond the range that the target goes out about 60 yards from the trap, and then it's on the ground. The screens can be placed beyond that, so that the shot can't get beyond that barrier. And then there are companies that will come up and reclaim the shot for you. You're probably not going to have enough lead there for a couple of years, maybe 10 years to make it profitable for somebody to come up and reclaim that lead. But if you have a shot curtain and you have the lead basically at the base of the shot curtain, it makes it pretty easy for somebody to come up and reclaim it. So that, it doesn't come cheap, it's not free. I don't know what that costs. I do know that they're out there, and if that's something that is a big concern, that can be mitigated relatively easily. It just costs money. It's just like everything in life. Everything has a cost. If you're willing to just let it go and land in its where it's normally going to land, that also can be remediated. We can clear extra distance with the tree clearing to facilitate that, so that when the lead is out there and it falls in a range, we can make that available to somebody in the future, so there wouldn't be stumps there. And somebody's going to have to go out there and mow that area, keep the brush out of it, because if the reclaimer is going to come in and there's trees out there that are this big around, he's going to have a hard time getting his equipment through there. So that's one thing that right away can help take some of the fear of that away. One of the questions that came up with the rotations of the trap fields, rotating them from true north will cause some issues with sun angle. Trap season starts now, runs through July basically, or the end of June. And the sun is, if you look at the azimuth of the sun starting now, it's pretty much straight west, and it's going to actually come above west as you get towards June. So if you rotate the fields into that, and you have kids in there trying to do practice in the evenings, it may cause an issue. Is it a deal killer? No. It's just something that I want out there right now so that everybody understands. If you guys make the decision that you want it rotated, you understand what you're deciding to do. That's all. So that when it comes down the road and somebody says, well, geez, the sun's always in our eyes when we practice out here at 6 o'clock, yeah, that was a decision that was specifically made. And that's fine. It's just a decision. With the original north facing, I had a pretty reasonable cost estimate. I don't know where if you guys were looking at going with donated. I think you had people that were willing to donate earthwork and donate other services to make this happen. If you were going to build it, it was like about $106,000, I think is where it was. So that's where it would be if you just hired somebody straight up to say, put this in and build it. With all the rotations and things like that, there are some concerns that may come in, because as we rotate it around, there's an area that might be a wetland out towards A, and it just means I have to make sure I put the parking lot in the right location. So that may require a wetland delineation. I know you guys had the DNR out here, but that was looking at putting the parking lot further up into the lot.
Is that the drawing we looked at the last meeting when it was kind of centralized? Is that?
Yes, it's basically right in the middle of the property. But one thing that when you guys were looking at those, you guys were looking at the safety zones that are drawn on the map, and those safety zones were dark, and I think they led you to believe that shot was going to go all the way out there. Those safety zones could have shot go that far based off of the angle of the gun being fired and different shot things like that. Justin's correct with the 115, but that's a shoulder-fired horizontal, basically shot or just off horizontal, because as you elevate, the shot goes further. All of those large arcs are me trying to say, you can't have anybody basically on the property if you're there shooting trap. Once you're done shooting trap, the rest of the property is yours to do whatever you want. If they're not shooting, you can have people out there doing whatever they want. One thing too with having a central parking lot and the building all put together, it will make control of the range and the property simpler for who's ever going out there with the kids to shoot trap. At our range at Honig Sports Club, we put a red flag out. That means the range is hot. That means it's in use. And that would mean that you wouldn't want people using the nature trail going around the outside. If you have separate parking lots, now you have the real possibility somebody could drive in there and say, oh, I can use this. They hear somebody shooting. They think, well, it's over here. I'm not in. But the safety zones basically cover all the area that you guys want to use for your walking trails. So I would encourage you to keep one central parking lot so that you have control of the property a little easier than having two separate and having a possible worry of somebody going over there, parking, going for a walk, and going backwards on the trail or something, and now I'm getting hit by a shot. And yeah, the range is in use. I mean, that's part of the deal. So if you have control over it, you put the red flag out. You put a sign up that says red flag means it's hot. The nature trail's closed. And
So if I could add to that, Phil, something that's, I don't know if it's unique to us, you could tell me because you know the Rhinelander one well, but I know every time I have taken kids or picked kids up from our practices, the minimum that's ever there is 2 or 3 adults. So to me, what Phil just said is a big deal, because not only do we have an adult or two that are there coaching, you have a lot of adult eyeballs. And if you would see a vehicle pull up and say go over by the trailhead, even with the red flag up, now you have an adult human. It's another layer, to me, another layer of safety. Whereas if it is in a different spot, that's a good point. I thank you for that.
yeah, and you want to be able to control the range. I mean, you don't want somebody just walking on and if you're on the range and it's right there, you can put a yellow chain across where you walk in to where the start and the end is, and you just have a thing on there. This range, that this nature trail is closed, during this period when the red flag's out, or whatever system that you guys develop to control the range. I think it's important that it's centralized, is what I'm trying to get at, I guess. Are there questions that you guys have?
Could we do shot remediation with a volunteer group?
No, you're going to have to hire a contractor.
You have to hire a contractor, so
Yes.
it can't
It's
be
a
done.
specialized equipment.
Okay.
Now, you hire a contractor, depending on the volume of shot that you have, it may or may not cost you money. If you have enough, and he's able to take enough off the property, generally, when those contractors come in to remediate that shot, they'll give a specific amount of that shot to the club that they're remediating it from, and then they sell it to people that reload. You may not be interested in that. I mean, as far as, I run the Rhinelander High School trap shooting team. We only shoot new shells that I buy, so this is a control issue. I'm controlling what's out there and where it came from, and nothing comes on that's not, I don't give them. So as far as, you probably don't want reloads on your team. You just want new shells so that you have, it's a control issue. So you control it. So, but somebody would buy that from them, so it may or may not cost you money. You may have to wait 15 years to remediate it, depending on how much shot you shoot. If the screens are out there, it's a lot more concentrated, and it may be simpler. You know, lead after a while will just soak into the ground a little tiny bit. They come in and pull the top probably 4 to 8 inches into the machine. The machine basically tumbles that soil and the shot, and it can separate the shot from the soil, and the soil goes back down, shot goes into a hopper.
And most of it would be concentrated up against the screen.
If you had screens, yes. So,
So if I heard you correctly, with us moving it to the different angle, it would make it harder to actually practice during the season when the sun is bright.
it could, depending on your practice times. I don't know when you guys practice. You know, as the sun comes around, you know, you get there 3, 4 o'clock, the sun's already approaching west. You know, it's high in the sky and it's in the western sky. If you're already tilting the range to the west, you could, you could get a sunshot, where it becomes more difficult. 45 degrees, I would tell you, I really against 45 degrees. 22 and a half, it might work, but I know north will work. So the other option would be you could tilt the thing 45 degrees east, or 22 and a half degrees east, but that's a whole different lay of the land that we've never explored.
So let me rephrase my question. If we were doing it the way you thought would give us maximum benefit for the students who are going to be shooting, we should keep it where we had it before and not move it over.
Correct.
Thank you.
That would be my recommendation, is the straight north.
Okay.
So for what it's worth, and I don't think Phil knows Al, and Al doesn't know Phil, but I did pull Mr. Votis aside, who obviously he's got skin in the game here with the trap team and with the academic side. He's one of our most proud educators, like getting his kids outside. He's proactive in that whole realm, which is awesome. But I asked him about if you had a pick of the different options out there, because every one of these is run by our trap coaches, right? He likes the straight north model as well. And I doubt whether he even talked to you.
No, I have never talked to
Yeah,
him.
you've never met Al.
Just gonna ask you that question.
Yeah. What about costs? What kind of fundraising are we gonna need to do to cover this?
Well, Phil, you would remember this probably better than I, but I think there was about a $106,000 price tag on the whole project with the, in the center, the first one. Terry, I'm gonna refer to you on the monetary thing as far as what would come from the school, but I can tell you that literally there are people who are getting a little bit, like, I don't wanna say impatient, but anxious to get working on it, as far as folks who would do some of the heavy lifting with the equipment that it's gonna be needed to form our parking lot, our driveway, things like that. We haven't gotten down to specific, okay, what are the hours, what are the minutes, what are the dollars you're gonna put forth to this, but a lot of folks, in fact, a lot of folks Sunday morning at the Writers Center, they're like, hey, when are we gonna get the green light on this, let's go, not prodding, but willing to help out.
Yeah, I was there Sunday and I heard that too.
You had a nice win, I saw.
I won 2 things. I
Yeah.
put things in for 2 things and I won them both. I'm very lucky with door prizes.
Me too. So go ahead,
But
Terry.
we do have groups that are willing to help us fundraise, so we
Yes.
just need to get that target out there and a timeline and figure out what we're gonna do.
Yes, and I know Jen's talked to me about when we get a plan in place that we're gonna go with, or that we have board approval for, let's get that out there on social media and get it out there to our public so they can see that we're making some progress and we're getting kids out there in the outdoor classroom for next fall, hopefully.
And I would add that, that was the 6th pancake breakfast, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it? 13? No. the sixth year.
Sixth Tracy Wick one.
On
Yeah.
the 13th.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
another there.
and the funds already previously raised are significant. There is a lot of money that has already been raised for this purpose, so it's not starting from ground zero. There is funds there, and then in kind, in donation, in labor, and equipment, we have many commitments. People are just, again, waiting to know what the plan is and what the directions are.
And I've talked with one of the adjacent landowners that's a past Lions Club member, and he's asked me to ask the Lions Club, which I'm part of, to help fundraise. And we're thinking of fundraising this summer that would honor Skip Wagner, and Skip and Daisy Wagner asked us to put the money back into the community. So besides scholarships for arts, we would help with the highway project.
Deer Lakes is a town that's got way more than most towns. This thing gets off the ground. I would be amazed if you guys couldn't put something together in really short order. You know, I worked with Jim Bowman for about 15 years at MSA, and so I know a lot more about Three Lakes than the normal person in Rhineland who just, you know, and the things that Jim would tell me, yeah, Three Lakes is, you know, I don't think there'll be a problem. It's an amazing community.
We hope so.
It is.
So a couple of questions here, Phil. Your recommendation, from what I'm understanding, is number 6 here, correct? Where it's centrally located facing north.
It probably won't be that exact layout. That's, you know, we've kind of gone around about, I don't know, 7 or 8 different renditions. We'll work with you if you want to change something. The location of the trap fields, I think, is pretty much kind of set in stone, exact where the fields actually are, because you can't really shift it left or right because of the safety zones, or further north. I have it basically about as far north as I can get it, and I tried to push it as far north, trying to get away from the landowners that are across the road, trying to be as cognizant of noise as we can. We would only clear, you know, what we have to. There isn't a lot of large trees on the property, so you're not going to get a big buffer. But if you let the areas that are right now 8-10 feet tall, you know, in 5 or 10 years, they're going to double in height.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll gain some, you know, noise reduction from those trees.
Scale-wise, are we 250 feet off the road, off the highway there?
I didn't bring a scale of any kind.
Just
Probably
approximate.
200.
200 feet, okay. All right.
For the parking lot or
To the trap fields.
to the 200 to the field?
Yeah, I went to the fields.
Oh, okay, so less than that to the parking lot.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'd have to go back in and look. That question I wasn't prepared for.
So if you were to put up these screens, where would you put these?
Screens go beyond the target fall zone. If you look at the picture you're looking at, there's an inner triangle with an arc that's closest to the shooting field. They would go directly behind that, because that inner arc with the arc on the outside of it is the target zone. That's where the target is flying, and at the end of that zone is the end of the target's path. So once the target's on the ground, there's no more shooting at it. So the screens would go immediately behind there, and I'm sure there's a buffer beyond the target zone that those screens go in, but it would be probably 10 or 15, 20 yards beyond the target fall zone. So once the target's on the ground, then the screens go up, if you want the screens.
And does that get in the way of the visual sight of the target?
Actually, they can, I think they could print a pattern on it to look like something.
Oh, so it'd be solid then? Is that?
It
Oh,
is a screen.
I was picturing something you would see right through.
No,
No,
it's
it's-
like,
Probably like a windscreen.
yeah,
ceiling.
more like a
Okay.
windscreen, like what they put on the field.
Yeah,
kind of
mesh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll actually stop the shot.
baseball field.
So a shot goes to it, falls down to the ground.
Okay.
Very tight windscreen.
You know, you might be able to see somewhat through it, but
It's anything like softball or baseball, like, that might be a
Well, it's
good
like
thing
that-
for the
it's like that
shooter to have.
windscreen that's on the
Like-
outside
like
fence of
hitter's-
the-
Like the hitter's eye, back
In
behind
the
the
ballpark
pitcher, so
there.
you can pick it up easier.
Okay.
it will give them a different sense, so if they go somewhere else to shoot,
Yeah.
you know, like if like our kids in Rhinelander, our background is kind of a mowed field, kind of, with a swamp behind it. If you go to the state shoot down in the town of Rome, it's just a field for, I don't know, half a mile or a mile. It's a huge, it's very different, but that's something your kids will just have to get used to.
Makes judging distance a little tougher, but
And you say that would help eliminate some of the clearing that would have to be done otherwise. Is that what I heard?
It won't really change the clearing area, but it will change the area that the shot falls in. Because the shot's gonna fall in a zone, and I don't know how big that zone actually is. You know, each piece of shot, depending on the speed that it's coming out, you can buy different speed shells, so it's gonna go a little bit further or a little bit less. But if you have the screens up, then it's, you know, it's truncated, you know, that's it. That's as far as it can go. So we would, you know, the areas that I have, you know, in the shaded are what we would be, pretty much they were in the 3 to 4 acres of property that you'd have to basically clear to make this work.
Okay.
You know, it's 40 acres. One
So-
thing we would do too with the engineering is we would do a boundary survey. I don't know that there's ever been a survey on this property. I would want to know where your boundary is before we actually do the engineering of where this is gonna land, to make sure that if we have to move it, you know, a little bit left, right, or up or down, that we know where your property lines are, so that it's more effort, but, you know, it's important that we know where your boundaries are.
Okay, so putting the screen up doesn't affect the clearing area at all.
No, I don't think
Okay.
clear it
It
down to the
basically would aid in mitigation later on.
aid in mitigation. You know, you could just clear a larger area, and with clearing the larger area, you don't need the screen. All you have to do is basically keep it mowed. It won't be substantially larger than what we're gonna clear anyway, but it does make that shot basically fall in one area. You know, it's gonna be basically in a pile at the base of that screen.
Okay. And are there many places that use the screens that you shot at?
I have never shot where the screens are.
Okay.
I've never used them. I know they exist. That's all I know about them.
Okay.
You know, I wouldn't probably keep them up if you're not actively using the range. I'd probably have some kind of system where you pull them up, or pull them to the ends like curtains, so that, you know, the wind doesn't just destroy them. You know, we get a windstorm or something. If they're either pulled to the corner and tied up, or let down, or I don't know if they go up and down or left and right, but I do know they exist, and I know you can get them. I've seen them, you know, in literature. I've never shot with one. There's actually indoor range down in Illinois, and they must have them inside, because you're inside of a building.
cool. Phil, on the northeast and the southeast corners, is that on your due north drawing? Is that, what are the lined drawing? Is that like hill type?
So, yeah, when I did the original layout, and we were gonna start on the left-hand side with the two fields, I actually went through and did a quick earthwork through there. That's how I was able to come up with a cost estimate. Now, if this thing moves around, I don't know what the earthwork quantities are anymore, but yes, that was, basically, we would be taking that northeast corner and lowering it, to be able to get the range where I've got it. Now, if you wanna move over to the east further and you start with those two, I don't know what the earthwork looks like over there.
Sure. No, I was just curious if that's what
Yeah,
that was telling
that's,
us.
we would have to lift the parking lot up on the southeast corner, and we would be taking dirt out of the northeast corner. I think it actually was fairly balanced.
Pretty even.
I was
Yeah.
kinda surprised, actually.
Outside of, we've got three basic land uses that we tentatively approved for use of this parcel. The educational use, if we were to position on page 6 here, the trap range and such, as far as putting up some potential facilities for maybe a covered roof classroom, open walled, or something, we're gonna have to put some facilities out there for classroom use. Would this affect any of that if we were to say, like, up in this area here for classroom
I
buildings?
don't think you'd wanna put building facilities unless you were outside of the safety zone. Just whatever could happen, if you're gonna put in, you'd have, there's a little bit of areas there. If you're gonna put facilities there, I would try to keep buildings or whatever you're trying to build down in the southern part of the lot. That's where your power is. If you're gonna try and put a building there, you're gonna want power to it. So if you're gonna have power to it up in the northeast or northwest corners, that's a long ways to take power. You'd have to take power all the way across the 40. You're gonna be looking, in the tens of thousands of dollars to bring enough power up there just to run a building.
Okay.
So if you could, there's a lot of area on the south end of this lot that you could, utilize the parking lot that we're gonna build for a classroom, for what, if you wanna put multiple buildings, easily could put multiple buildings, anywhere on the south end of the project.
Okay, is there anything, as far as you said the shortfall, is there anything to that would, let's just say you have a building out there and you don't have power to it, is it something that you wouldn't have a building out there because of the shortfall area?
So it would be like a shelter in case inclement weather came, people are out on the nature trail.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, you could put something like that out there. It isn't gonna get hurt by, your shot isn't gonna go that far, but we need these safety zones that far. And again, controlling who's out there and make sure you don't have people out there while it's in use. Some signs with some hours. The trap range is actually only used for about 3 months out of the year. The rest of the year, the whole facility is, yours to do what you'd like with.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna build just a lean-to structure or something like that, or some sort of just a small shelter for inclement weather, it isn't gonna get hurt by it.
Okay.
I guess it's probably not by accident, with the weather that we experienced in Northwoods, but when I did the survey of the staff, and I had them kind of register which months they would want to be taking classes, the least used months for the classes were exactly the months that the trap team is in the season.
Well,
March, yeah.
in the
March
spring,
and April had very few, yeah. Sounds good. And that fits well for what we're looking to use this property for.
Is fall maybe your ideal time to get kids out into the classroom
I
out
would
here?
assume that's gonna be a big time, yeah. And I would assume as soon as things warm up too, I would assume in the
May
spring,
picked up a little bit for requests.
you're gonna wanna have kids
End of
outside,
May,
I would think.
early May, you still got mud. You know, if you got a walking trail, unless you have it gravelled or something, it's, you're gonna have kids coming back.
That's okay. Ultimately, I'd like to see them using it right through the winter because, you know, we live
That's-
in the 4 seasons. But to get started, if we could have things ready in the fall and in the spring,
If you have a parking lot, let's say you wanted to put ski trails or something out there, and maybe you get some land use agreement with an adjacent landowner to take ski trails somewhere else. You've got a parking lot established. Depending on what direction you go for restrooms, if you just use porta potties, at least there's somewhere, you know, you could leave the porta potties out there in the winter for the skiers. You'd have something out there. Ultimately, someday, maybe you get a donor that says, I'll pay for a pavilion with some restrooms in it, and you put in that pavilion with real restrooms, and you heat the restrooms, and now it becomes a ski facility for the school. And, you know, you can make things work that way. You don't know where this can lead, but a parking lot gives you that base where you can, okay, we can use this property from this parking lot and go from there.
And currently, our driveway is further east, the one that we've got on the property right now.
I'm not 100, I can't pick it off of the aerial photo, and there's nothing out here. Like, I don't have like a house that I can say it's 400 feet from this house. There's nothing out here to really, you know, get a great.
If you look at, like sheet 1, you know, he's got it on there, and that's at the edge of the property. If you go another, I don't know, it's not very far to get to that road that goes through. That's it,
Yeah.
road,
Camp 2.
the Camp 2,
There you
yeah,
go.
thank you.
You would know.
So, I mean, it's
But we can-
getting pretty well to the corner of the property, you know.
Yeah.
Is there a problem
Pretty active.
having a permit? I know some highways limit your access.
So I called and talked to Alex Hegeman, who's the Oneida County Highway Commissioner, and the current location is an approved location. So where it is today, when we go out there to collect the topography of the area, we would be picking up its current location and using that as the entrance. Whether it wiggles one way or the other in my drawings, you know, these are all schematic drawings, or, you know, none of them are exactly where it's gonna be. We would put it where it is today.
I see.
And that driveway is approved from Oneida County.
Do we have the option of adding another driveway?
I don't know that would be a problem.
Okay.
I know originally there was some discussions that Justin and I had to the west. They didn't want it further to the west, but you could move it to the east. I don't, you know, it's getting straight, there's no hill. I don't, either you move it or you get a second driveway. I don't think it'd be a problem.
Originally, we did have it further west, and they didn't approve that site, and that's why it went in where it did.
Because of the curve, right?
Right, because it was too close to the corner, because I remember when I was on that committee when it was, and we had set further west towards the corner, they did not approve that site, so when they approved where it was at, and that's where it was put in.
Okay, and that's the driveway that I was planning to match up to.
Okay. So basically, this drawing here would not really show.
If it's a little bit off, it's,
Well,
We can move the driveway.
basically, it would have to run parallel to the highway because
Yeah, it's.
the
way over
driveway
there.
is quite a ways to the property line.
okay.
So,
Yeah, we can get over there. And if it is over that way, because I wasn't sure where it truly was, I was trying to look at Google Earth and different things, trying to figure out where it was. And I thought, well, maybe it's here.
And the other thing that might work is if you just take this and go like this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, then you get your in and. What I was just
Flop
showing
the
him
thing
is
over
just,
and over.
yeah, just flip it
Mirror
this way
image.
and you got the same thing.
Yep. And that's totally workable.
One thing and I guess as a question to the board members, not too far in the distant future, we're going to have to develop policy as far as allowing firearms on this piece of property. And how do we set up that policy so that it's very easy to enforce and very easy for someone to understand either what area is allowed to carry a firearm and what area is not? How do we delineate that? How do we set the parameters? Your recommendation with the one parking lot serving both educational trail and trap is efficient, no doubt. And if you were to develop a policy to cover that, how would you do that? Is it a certain period of the day? Is it on trap days? Because there are days that when the trap isn't out there that it's not okay to have a firearm in that parking lot. But on other days, it is. And how do you separate that? You know, because we don't want that confusion in the parking lot here.
Well, it's only okay when it's a school function, and two, I mean, I think we would only okay it when, and there has to be school supervision.
Correct.
So it might even be the point where we say, you know, the trap coach is responsible for hauling all firearms to and from the facility and handing out possibly.
So
Or
you
delineating that it's only trap
Yes.
club members and
Right,
coaches
not open to the public.
that are allowed to, you know, that,
Mhm.
then you're only allowing those people during those hours privileges. Because I can see where having Al have to get all those guns ahead of time
It's
We'll
not,
get
yeah, it's not great.
hard.
Right.
Because it's kind of complicated now. I mean, he would do it in a heartbeat, but
I'm pleasantly surprised currently how empty our student parking lot is on trap shooting days.
One thing
Kids are following rules.
with
Yeah.
trap shooting is to be in trap shooting, you have to be on the team, you have to be registered with SCTP, which is the overarching, I think you guys use SCTP.
Yep.
SCTP. So that, you've already delineated the group of people that are allowed, because the coaches are on the shot system, the students that are allowed are on the shot system. So only people that are on the team, in the system with SCTP privileges are allowed on there with a firearm. And that makes it a lot easier to enforce, because either you're on the team or you're not. And you know, you have a list, and coaches can provide that list to the school, and it's relatively simple to navigate, I think, that way, if you control it by the group that can do it. And not just anyone can come there with a firearm. Only certain people that are registered SCTP members.
And we have already begun discussing it with WASB.
What's that?
Some sort of a check-in process possible.
Right. Which we say we develop policy, but honestly, this is going to be coming from our attorneys, because this will be the first, which I think there's been a pride in tradition with the Fab Lab or some of the other things. This will be unique. It'll be the first one that's happening with the trap range within a piece of school property. We've already had all of the preliminary legal questions answered to make this even doable, or we wouldn't be sitting here. I've talked at length about this with Scott Mickish down at WASB, and he said they're ready when we give them the go-ahead to start the policy. It's going to be a lengthy policy because we're going to have to make it so clear that the average person can read it and thoroughly understand who it pertains to, when the time is, that when the students will use it, who can't, Uncle Charlie can't just go out there and shoot because he feels like it on a Saturday morning. We'll have to just make sure. And then put a lot of the enforcement and regulation in the hands of our coaches and adult supervisors. I know I don't worry about the kids at all, and I don't want to say I don't worry about safety because that is very important, but the respect that our children and our students, I should say, will show and demonstrate, I'm confident in that. We just need to make sure that for liability purposes and, of course, always the overriding factor of the what-ifs that could happen, we have things in place.
And if you're not familiar with the trap shooting range, we're currently shooting at tiles. I couldn't go out there on a Saturday and go through a box of clay pigeons. Like, the house is locked. So no one's gonna have access to it other than our coaches or advisors to be able to utilize the clay pigeon throwers in the house. That's just a standard operating procedure. It's locked up all the time.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of situations where, all right, let's say it's springtime and we have a class out there, out using the property, and someone sees someone in the parking lot with a firearm. And what if it's gonna have trap practice later that night and they just get there early?
I thought that got back to, we were setting specific times.
That's,
School would be out.
3 till 6 or 7. I thought at least that was initial discussions from what I can remember.
that's what I'm getting at is if you have that in the policy, then you're putting in times, and then I guess it's not a black and white. You got to look at your watch. You got to see what time it is, so that someone's could be allowed on that piece of property with a firearm. The advantage with a separate parking lot is that's the trap range parking lot. If somebody's on that with a firearm, that's a separate parcel. If they're on the parking lot with access to the facilities for educational, the trail use, and you see someone in that parking lot with a firearm, to me that would be more black and white, easy to see and enforce. So I guess I don't want to muddy the waters, I guess, in my mind, for anyone trying to enforce it by knowing which days a trap club is going to be out there and the time. It would be clearer, in my point, if there was just a separate area for
But
that
it's not
trap
separate,
use and
because you're
access.
gonna have that nature trail. You're talking, you want it separate, but you've commingled it so much by putting that nature trail through the trap fields.
Well, it would be,
Or through
it would be outside, it wouldn't run right through it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
maybe
probably gonna
you
run
start
right
on the
across
side.
it to get over to that east side, and then you're gonna be out walking behind it. I think it'll commingle it to the point where you've already got it together, but then the two separate parking lots make it very difficult to control. I understand your point about the firearm. I think it's easier to just put signage up saying no firearms allowed from, before 4 p.m. school is done, I assume 3.
So I've got a principal on the other side of me here. When you're taking field trips out there, what's the latest you would be on the property? Get them back here or back to Three Lakes in time for catching the buses?
3:15, 2:30.
Okay. So practice starts at 4, right? We've got some leeway there. We got some time. I feel like that wouldn't be an issue.
It shouldn't be, I mean, kids shouldn't be out there before 3:15 because they're in school yet.
Because if the
And
school
you
is
guys don't
done with
have
the
practice.
property,
Right.
as far as the nature trail side of it, by 2:30, and that's how you set it up, then that leaves plenty of time for that parking lot to make that roll over to the trap team, because they're gone by 2:30. If somebody even shows up an hour early, they're already been gone for half an hour by the time someone was to show up an hour early.
You know, and that might be an administrative side, where maybe, the coach or one of the adult supervisors has to be the first one in the parking lot, just to take note, okay, there's a red Honda Civic sitting here, we need to figure out what's going on, where every vehicle that's there. Or except
And
the
one
lot's empty,
parking lot
then
gives you that ability to see that there's somebody there or not. And you know that the place is either empty, or you know that there's that red Civic, because why is that red Civic there? There's somebody out there. Because if the coach comes to the site and he sees that red Civic sitting there, and it's 4 o'clock, it's time for the trap team, he's gonna say, why is that car here? Now I've got to figure out where that person is. They're not gonna be able to probably use it, but that's gonna give him that ability. Otherwise, he's gonna have to, is there anybody over there? And maybe he doesn't see the car. There's either somebody in the parking lot, or there's nobody in the parking lot. I think one parking lot is, for control-wise, is simpler to control. And that's what I'm trying to get at, is control.
Should we get some feedback from Scott on this? You said he's gonna help us with that policy.
Right.
Get his thoughts on if he thought putting together a policy based on time of day, and I guess days, that
Or
we know the
season.
trap club is
Yeah.
gonna use the property.
Yeah, from March 15th till May 15th or June 1st, whatever,
Yeah.
this time to this time.
It would be like a facility use for any of our gyms. It's just an extension of our facilities, right? So it would be a facility use. And when they're using it for a field trip, they would fill out that facility use and it would come through the main office. Just like when any one of these gyms is, it's a facility use, it comes through the main office, it goes in a calendar, and we would know, we wouldn't schedule two things at the same time.
Because do you guys have 2 nights that you do trap practice?
Yes, Monday night, Wednesday night.
So Monday and Wednesday, you just don't have, you probably wouldn't even use the facility on Monday and Wednesday. It gives you Tuesday, Thursday, Friday for the rest of the school system to use the parcel and never have a conflict.
Yeah, that would be clean
And that maybe is
during the trap season.
correct. The rest of the year, it's wide open. That gives you that more black and white.
That would be more black and white. So
Yep.
it'll probably be good to get Scott's opinion on that and see what he thinks about putting together a policy on that. And, okay.
So do we know yet, are we going with one parking lot? Is that what I'm asking him? I mean, I need some specifics.
Personally, I think 2 parking lots, not only does it add cost to put in, it adds cost to maintain, and as Phil said, it takes a control issue away. I'm all in favor of only 1 parking lot.
I am too.
Okay. So I guess that's the way the board is leaning right now.
Okay.
And have them take a look at that with that in mind. And what other questions do we have? Colette, you're good?
I'm good.
Yeah. So we can get some input from Scott and we can maybe set up a special to come back on this
Okay.
and
Let's,
see what everybody's availability is.
would you be willing to set up the special now?
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I would be too.
Good.
I would propose we do because of how hectic it is and with the spring break in there and knowing the short timeline, which feels shorter every day. Could we look at April 6th? That's 3 weeks. I'm certain I could have policy. And then I would hope that the board could, at that point, also make it an action item where we nail down what Phil has presented. It might not be exactly to the
What
north,
option
but
you want.
where it is, and we can have the green light then because the permit process, all these other things have to be rolling.
April 6th works for me.
I'm not here that week, so I'd be here the following week, but not the week of the,
The 13th?
and it wouldn't have to be
13th works for me,
Wednesday.
too.
Oh, okay. It can be a different day, I
Yeah,
guess.
it could be Tuesday, the 12th, but that's just me, so.
I believe I have due to a reschedule, I have a softball game on the 12th. I'm unavailable.
So 13th you are?
That's May 12th.
Oh,
I'm good on the 13th too.
I'm sorry, you're right, it is May 12th.
Yeah.
Thank you.
22nd and the 12th.
22nd and the 12th, that's what it was. I had them backwards.
So April 13th, that is almost a month out, so I mean, we will want to be ready to act, I would suggest.
Is there anything specifically you want of Phil or I between now and then?
I got my questions answered. We've got areas to consider here for facilities. That helped out. And I think clarification on the best potential site here. I don't have any further questions.
I'm good, the only thing I think is we have to flip-flop the entrance. If we were to go with the due north.
And those are things that
I know that's small.
will,
Yeah.
And what you could do then is you use the two right stations first. That would help move that parking lot over further to the east. And then mirror drop the driveway off of that.
I wasn't sure exactly
It
where
might
was.
fall
It was
right
kinda-
in where it's at.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? Use
Yeah.
these two right stations first.
You know, well, I mean, I don't even know how much that matters.
Well, it'd help move the parking lot over
Yeah.
further to the east.
If it
Yeah, for
mirrors,
sure.
it would be no big deal.
Yeah.
So the driveway is established,
The
It's there.
driveway, we will use where the driveway is today,
right?
because I don't wanna try to, chase that around anymore. What you have is approved, and I called and made sure it was approved, so it's like, yeah, we're gonna use that, wherever it is. If we have to come in the middle of the parking lot or the edge of the parking lot, something will work. So it's just a matter of, once we get, some topography, then we can say, okay, it's here, and we'll reconfigure it to make it work.
Very good. Any other questions for you, Terry?
No, I think I know what we need to do. Do we need a motion for the special meeting?
I'll make a motion that we have a special meeting to discuss the trap shooting range and the layout of Highway parcel on the 13th of April at 6 p.m.
We don't really have a motion or an agenda item for that. I think you can just set the meeting up.
Can I? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, then never mind.
so,
Sorry about that.
No problem.
I think we're good though.
Okay.
Excellent. Phil, thank you for,
Thank you.
You guys are taking a huge step here. Congratulations.
Shedding lights.
I mean, this is awesome. I really like to see other schools get involved. I never thought Rylander was ever gonna get involved, and it has blossomed in the state of Wisconsin. And I've seen some amazing things happen to some kids with this stuff, so. I've seen kids get turned around, and it wasn't my original game for trap shooting, but it's helping your students.
no doubt. I mean, right now it's proven that it's gaining a lot of traction with our students and,
One of our most popular co-curriculars.
yeah, and, so, yeah, there's definitely a lot of excitement and, but, you know, we want to make sure that we
Do it right.
do it right. We're doing this once and we're doing something unique here.
You are.
We were told right from the start that nobody else is out there that has a trap range on school property.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that,
There's always a first person that does something.
Yeah.
And then something else will come down the pike for somebody else. You make it easier for somebody else, so.
but yeah, this is going to serve our students and, you know, very well. So
Okay.
great location.
Okay, and I will leave you to the rest of your meeting.
Thank you so much. All right. And Justin, thank you for your work on this, and Terry as well, and all those that have provided input. So, very good. Good discussions. Okay, now we go back to setting a date for the board administration staff retreat.
All right, last year we did it on August 9th, the first or second week of August. We looked at that preliminarily again. I would suggest that we get that date nailed down, even though it seems very early. Summer comes, people disperse. And it's going to be a bigger year because the 5-year cycle will be up. So we'll want to be doing some surveying of our community. And I would even propose that instead of just a portion of a day, we plan on probably, I will call it a full day, like a morning with a lunch and then finish up.
Okay.
I don't know if your calendars are available to check at this point. Last year we did it on a Monday. I think anytime during that week.
We're thinking towards the beginning of August.
Yes, I was thinking that it would be like that August, what did I put down for the date? Like the August 9th or 10th, I mean, that week.
Can't be the 9th.
Can't be the 10th for me.
I could do the 11th.
The 11th would be a Thursday.
11th works for me.
What time would we be ending? Only 'cause that's soccer season and there'll be soccer.
What time does soccer start?
After school, so, like, usually, oh, well, not
They
till
don't
the
have school
evening,
yet.
yeah, no.
No,
Like-
that'll be,
like
yeah, like 6.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
we would be way done. I would say,
I'm trying to put my head in.
no. I was thinking we would probably start like at a 9 o'clock time and then have lunch and then be wrapped up, I would think by 1:30, 2 o'clock at the
Perfect.
latest.
I don't know if I can make that work.
So what time are you suggesting to start it, Terry?
Let's start it at 9 o'clock on August 11th.
Okay, and we may not go
We-
for the full afternoon.
We may not. no.
We're just allowing ourselves some space.
Correct.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so we have a recommendation from Terry for starting at 9 o'clock. It sounds like the 11th is good for everyone.
Yes.
So we could take a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to schedule the board administrative staff retreat for August 11th at 9 a.m.
I second.
All right. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none heard, motion passes 4-0. There we go. we'll get our group together and get some students involved as well.
Yes, we will.
Awesome. Okay, next we have consider approval of the personnel report.
Yes, and I have a lengthy personnel report this evening. We moved it back into new business after advice from WASB. We're learning as we go, and as they give us advice, we try to apply it. To report on resignations, we have Tyler Lorenz as at-risk coordinator and baseball coach, Rachel Botting for junior high track coach, and Danielle Christensen, high school social studies teacher, which will be at the end of this school year contract. Retirements: Don Phelps, special education teacher at the high school; Barbara Pulver, or Bobby as we know her, business education teacher; Margot Smith, business manager. She's sitting here. I'm still not happy about that, but
She's smiling.
she's smiling. Kirsten Margatan, our elementary guidance counselor, and Tina Halverson, food service director. And then for hiring, we have Anthony Lurbetsky for softball coach, Jerry Adamovich for assistant softball, Kelly Griesbach for girls soccer coach, Katie Bachnick for assistant girls soccer coach, Michelle Brown, head golf coach, David Disler, assistant golf coach, Brad Bisnet, head baseball coach, Bill Wolasek, assistant baseball coach, Andy Weiss, head track coach, Jamie Weiss, assistant track coach, Nate Coach, assistant track coach, Cassandra Spraddle, junior high track coach, and Jessica No, assistant junior high track coach. So I have several contracts for you to sign this evening.
Great. Yeah. Thanks to all the coaches that stepped forward. All right, so we need an approval for that personal report.
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel report as stated.
Second.
Okay, motion by Stacy, second by Josh. Anybody else? Questions? No? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. Motion passes 4-0. And thanks to all those that retired and are soon to retire. Margot, you being one of them that are sitting here with us tonight. And to all those that weren't able to be with us, thank you for all the service that you've done for our district. So, all right. Get back here. On D, consider policy update, board policy adoption and review policy 151.
Okay, last month, we read through the initial reading of policy 151, board policy for the adoption of policy. There was a few suggested changes. They are highlighted in yellow. We've added the word "when possible." New proposed policies shall be initially presented at one board meeting and brought to a vote for adoption at a subsequent meeting to allow time for review, input, and possible changes. We were cognizant of the fact that sometimes time is of a pressing nature, as we found in COVID or when we had to go to virtual. So we wanted that flexibility there. And we also removed the words "on matters of unusual urgency" and started the next line with "following a board vote to set aside and waive the standard 2-meeting adoption process, comma, a new proposed policy may be introduced and acted upon at the same meeting." Josh had asked the question, and I did verify that it is correct. We wouldn't have to bring it back for another second reading, which would be a third reading. And then we changed the word "shall" to "should." Board policy should be reviewed and updated on a regular basis in order to keep them up to date. The legal references are there, and if we adopt this tonight, the adoption date will be stated in the policy. Are there questions on this policy?
No?
All right, anyone willing to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept policy 151 as written. written with changes.
Second.
All right, motion by Josh, second by Stacy. Any last questions? No? All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none heard, motion passes 4-0. Next, we have review and consider approval of bids for sale of John Deere lawn tractor.
All right, we put out for bids our Sugar Camp John Deere lawn tractor, and that was in the paper. We did actually receive 2 bids, which is the first time since I've been here there was 2 bids for something. So we had 2 bids come in. The higher bid was for $506. It would be my recommendation that we go with that bid. This is understood that this was a 1988 John Deere front deck lawnmower model F935. It was rebuilt in 2010. The deck was rebuilt in 2011. There's 1,750 hours on it. It is no guarantee. Jack did a good job checking with our vendor to see what kind of price range we could get, which is all over the board, but you can't get much for used equipment like this. So both bids did come in within acceptable, what I would say acceptable offers, but I would consider that we would go with a little bit higher offer.
All right, so someone is prepared to make a motion to approve the acceptance of the bid.
I'll make a motion to approval of the bid for sale of John Deere lawn tractor as stated by Terry.
I'll second.
Okay.
All right, motion by Stacy. We'll give this one second to Colette. How's that? Let's just call it to vote. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard.
And I think the Sugar Camp town crew will thank Jack and us for vacating the premises. They have been gracious in storage.
Very good. Next, consider approval of the Cesa shared services contracts.
We renew this every year at this time. The Cesa contracted services remain the same this year, except we have eliminated our services for occupational therapy. If you recall, last year we had contracted with Cesa 9 for those services, and then they didn't have a provider, which led to Carrie doing a great job scrambling and finding an online provider working with us. It worked out well, but we have actually been able to find a live human to provide those services this year. So that has been removed from the Cesa contract, which takes a savings of well, it's not a savings, it's a removal of $37,500 from the Cesa contract.
Do we have copies of those?
I just have one for you to review and then for a signature at the end.
Okay.
Would you like me to go through the costs that we actually do purchase from them? I certainly can.
That would be great.
Yep. So we buy from them the continuous school improvement services membership. That's $13,460 a year. They've kept their costs the same. We don't get charged for our academic and career planning. We don't get charged for our career pathways. We do pay $906 for our career and tech ed consortium. We pay $117 for comprehensive social health services, and many of these services are of no charge. That would be our Title I support services, our Title III grant consortium, our transition grants, our Universal Design for Learning grant. Those are all at no charge. And then the Y support, which is our data system that we use within grants and reporting. We also have a charge that we contract 12.5 days with our visual impairment teacher for a cost of $8,750. Administration fees are at $10,428 a year. Our Cesa facility maintenance and operation are at $1,150. And then our McNeil provider through them is $3,300. And then we do have Medicaid billing that's per claim. So our services with them are very what I'd say are more on the minimal side, but the support services we do have are very good, and we would not be able to contract them out for the costs that we get through the CESA services.
Can you explain what the visual services
Yes,
part is?
for a teacher working for a visually impaired student.
Oh, with the student, okay,
Right.
thank you.
And the total of the contract?
The
is-
total of the contract is $38,111.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any further questions for Terry? And looking for motion for approval.
I make a motion that we approve the CESA 9, is it? Contract as stated by Terry.
Second.
Okay, motion by Colette, second by Josh. Any last question, comments? All right. Move to vote. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None heard, motion passes 4-0. Moving down the list, consider approval of the girls hockey co-op with Rylander for 2022 through 2023 and 2023 through 2024.
All right. We've been doing this now for 2 years. We have not had anyone take us up on it as far as doing this, but it's, if somebody were to move into our district, it would be an opportunity for them. This co-op is more than just Rhinelander. They're kind of the host school. It's Lakeland, Anago, Leona, Wabeno, us. So there's a number of districts involved in this co-op. So, again, it's just a renewal.
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity, correct.
Okay.
And we're not affecting Rylander with any of this.
You know, there's girls hockey co-ops of populations of 10,000.
Really?
It's out of hand.
You were the only one that's not.
Yeah.
No
Absolutely.
kidding.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, someone prepared to make a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve the girls hockey co-op with Rhinelander for 2022 through 2023 and 2023 through 2024.
I'll second that.
All right, any comments, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None heard, motion passes 4-0. Next we have consider Sure Camp 4K classroom facility needs and tour proposed location. Terry?
Okay. We've had a real nice surprise with our 4K open house. We're hoping to get programming started and growing, and we really had a big increase in numbers. So we're looking at our space, and we've talked about long-range facility needs. We know that we're very tight here for space anyway. In talking with Todd and Jack about what could we potentially do, because we do have a tight footprint, I shared with you in the packet an original idea. The reason we came tonight was to look at the little, what I call the grassy alcove area that is right now between the where the gym and the hallway kitchen is, and then it would go into where the current outside boundary of that classroom is. There is room that it could be expanded in, and we were thinking with very few walls, and maybe it would be more economical, fiscally doable. We heard from Phil already, getting materials is difficult, getting contractors is difficult, but we thought it was important that we at least talk about that and see what direction we want to go. In looking at that, I thought about a plan B and a plan C and a plan D. I have another picture or another map that I asked Jack to draw this up quickly for us today. In speaking with Mike, he brought a good question forward, and he said, had we thought about doing it on the other side of the kindergarten classroom, which would be going out into the playground area, add another classroom that size. Originally hadn't thought about doing that because it was adding a lot more wall and space. We in a long-range plan we had talked about what we could do here, but that wasn't the original idea. So Jack put this together for me, and you would see where the airlock would be extended out, and another classroom would be able to be added on the same size as the kindergarten classroom. The idea that's kind of sparking this as well is if we could eventually have a aftercare or a before school daycare situation that would possibly open up that preschool area into possibly some childcare. That would be down the road, okay? So that's the second idea that just got kind of brought forward today. Our plan today is to take a look at the original area of the grassy alcove and see what you think. If that does warrant expansion, we should try to get that done in a timeline that is before the start of school, and if it's feasible to do so. Questions at this point?
So what we're looking to do here is, more than anything, give you the authority to look at this, should the board approve that,
Yes.
right? Because we don't have any contract, we don't have that, but
No.
giving you the authority to start looking in, getting bids, and potential options.
That's right.
Okay, all right.
And I do think it is important that you look at the space, especially feel the space of the current classroom that Kelly lives in. And then when we walk down there and we look at the other side as well, since we're taking the tour, I want to also take a quick look or point out where the art room is, because that also could be a potential classroom space. Should we feel that construction is limited, that could be a smaller remodel type project.
Okay. So another plan option there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So we want to go out and
Yep.
take a look at these proposed
Will you be my tour
options?
guide?
Yes.
All right. I like the timing of this board meeting tonight because it was nice and warm out there.
Really, pick the right days.
Okay, so the board has come back to the table here, and we got a chance to tour the potential options for expansion of space here at Sugar Camp. And I guess at this point here, Terry, if you could give us your recommendation on what you would like to proceed ahead with.
Yes, I would like to recommend that we proceed exploring option one, which would be enclosing the area that is now the alcove area, extending the walls and opening up the existing wall with the current preschool room to expand that space for our 4K program.
All right, so what we'd be looking at is a motion to give you the authority to advertise for bids for that proposed location.
I'll make a motion to give you the authority to get bids for Plan A, using future 4K.
I'll second.
All right, so motion by Stacy, second by Colette. Any other questions? All right, let's call it to vote. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None heard, motion passes 4-0. All right, Terry, you got another project.
Well, I don't want to get bored.
These are good projects.
They're wonderful.
Okay, winter sports update.
All right.
Here we go.
Here we go. All right, well, we had a great winter sports season. Kind of took off from the fall. We had a really nice fall season. Kept it going into the winter. So I think you guys received these in your board packets, but I'll kind of just go through them, starting with the boys here. They were 15-8 overall, 5-5 in the conference. I think they finished 4th in the conference. So they didn't finish quite where they wanted. They had a little break in there, not due to COVID, but due to illnesses. They didn't play in 10 days. And went over to Crandon, and that was kind of the hiccup of the year, where they didn't play as well as they should have. kind of bumped them down a little bit. They got seeded third in the regional, or in the playoffs, ended up being regional champions, and of course we know we went down to Elko for a great sectional game against Gibraltar, which was well attended. We fell a little short, but the boys played very well. Very happy with everything, how it proceeded. Their numbers were fairly strong this year. 10 on the varsity, and I believe we had 11 on the JV, so our numbers were good. A couple of things that weren't completed when you guys got this was that they did, it says sectional results, they did go to sectionals. And we did have some all-conference people here. We had 2 second-team all-conference in Logan Erickson and San Upwer, and an honorable mention in Jared Kaufman. And then Jared was nominated for Defensive Player of the Year, which he was co-Defensive Player of the Year. So some really nice accolades for these young men. 2 of them are seniors. Jared, fortunately, is a sophomore, so coming back and going to be a big staple in that program. So, any questions on the boys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a great year. Girls, the girls basketball was 17-7. They were 7-2 in the conference. They tied for the conference championship this year. It was a 3-way tie between Leona Wabeno, and Crandon. So we lost to Leona Wabeno, but we beat Crandon, and Crandon lost, or Crandon beat Leona Wabeno. So it was kind of a matchup game. Numbers were not where we quite liked them. I basically played, what they have, 10, right, Todd? Yeah, 10. One of the players really didn't want to play a whole lot of the games, though. She was in a car accident. Saw some minimal minutes. So really like to bolster those numbers. We do have a fairly strong 8th grade group coming in. I'm hoping that we can field the JV next year, but again, that's with a lot of hope. We did get some nice individual accolades there as well. We did have a first team all-conference player there in Kara Sawinski. She was also Offensive Player of the Year, which she was kind of very surprised with. But it was a very nice award for her and very deserving. We did have 3 individuals that were second team all conference in Sarah Brzezinski, Mara Zeus, and Callie Volk. So some nice individual awards there for those girls. And again, they were regional champs, competed in sectionals in the first round against Leona Wabeno. Again, game was very well attended, but fell a little short there as well. We kind of didn't have our best night.
Yeah.
Boy, they shot unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, they put up 50 points against us, and against the next week, the next game, they put up 26. They just kind of went back to where they normally were. So, but again, coaches and kids and athletes did a nice job. I was grateful that Todd helped out. He did a nice job. So, thank the coaches and their interviews, and very happy with that. So that moves us on. Any questions about girls?
No.
Okay, moves us on to wrestling. Wrestling again, we were co-op for the second year with Leona Wabeno. They were 15-5 overall in dual meets. They did. This year was kind of odd. They used to you could only have 5 multis. This year you could have unlimited multi meets, but you just couldn't go over the 50 match limit coming into regionals. So we had a lot of kids going into regionals with 48 matches, which was great because last year they were maxed out at 20. So it was really nice to see what the WIA did to give wrestling a little bit of what they lost last year. We did have 2 first team all conference, or basically conference champions, in Gus Fink and Pearson Shaplinski. There were also, I believe, 2 from Leona Wabeno in Frank Shepard and Ryan Roy. And then we did have a number of, 2 sectional qualifiers in Pearson and Gus, and then Ryan Roy also, and then Pearson went to state. So he was the first wrestler since 1994 to win a medal at state. So, something that it was really nice to see. I really think that Pearson has worked as hard as any athlete that we've had in our school to achieve his goal. I mean, he was right there, and I thought last year was his year, and it just didn't go his way at sectionals, you know. But this year he got through there, was a sectional champ, was seeded 4th at state, and that's where he pretty much finished up. His loss going in the championship bracket on Friday night was to an eventual 4-time state qualifier, or 4-time state champ. So when he did lose, he lost to the best.
Sure.
So, but congratulations, Seth and all the kids there. We did a lot of the exit interviews with the coaches today after our Winter Sports Awards at the school, and that was about it. Well, I did miss one thing. I believe Kara was also honorable mention All-State at basketball. So, but again, a fine year. I'm really was really happy and really proud of what our athletes accomplished, and I'm hoping that it just keeps rolling into the spring here. So that's about all I have to report.
Great. Well, that's one season another you can check off, right, Charlie?
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe how fast this year was.
Yeah. Shift gears now to the
Yeah,
spring.
you know, I think since August 14th, from cross country, I think Callie's had 6 days of school where she hasn't had practice. She had 1 day in between the Thursday sectional loss and the track meet on the track practice on Monday.
Wow.
So, I mean, she stays on trouble. And I think as well as a lot of these other kids that are three sport athletes. Keeps them busy and keeps them going. But so the opportunities are there. So
Yeah, exactly.
I already had a first track meet, so we're already in the spring going.
Yeah.
So, but that's the winter sports report.
Well done, and thank you for all the things that you put into the watching over all this, and congratulations to the coaches and athletes. Another awesome season.
Yeah.
So
It was the first time since I think they did it back to back 97, 98. The boys and girls were regional. That's regional champs. So and for the boys, it was the first one since 2010. So it's been a while. First conference champion. What was that one? Since 2013.
No, it's
2009.
89.
Maybe 13 years.
The
Yeah.
flag is hanging right down the hall.
Yeah. So it's been a while for the girls. So it's nice to see that.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
a couple of high energy games when things were going on there.
Tough on the parents too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of fun though. It was a lot of fun.
All right, next we are putting our tech educators on the spotlight here for an update on what's going on in the classroom. So if we could see
Yeah, I was
an
hoping,
update on that, that would be awesome.
I was hoping Brad Volkman or Al Otis could also be here, but they're pretty busy with other things going on, so you're stuck with me.
All right.
So, a lot of things have changed. Of course, Mike Gorney retired at the end of last year, which kind of changed my role a little bit, just kind of, instead of Fab Lab, it was kind of the whole tech ed wing that I've been more involved with, which has been good. We've been making some changes, so I'll get into that in a second. Some positive things. This fall, applied for a grant from the Society of Plastic Engineers of Milwaukee for a little under $3,000, and we won that. So that allowed us to buy some new 3D printers, which actually my engineering design kids have been putting together. It's actually been a couple week process. So that's been kind of fun to see that. We also applied for a grant from the WEDC, big one. We've received it twice in the past. We're hoping to get it again. We'll hear probably sometime in April, maybe early May, whether we receive that. if we get that, there's some new equipment we'd like to purchase that would just allow us to expand the opportunities and things that the kids are able to work with, more machining, CNC things. So still doing a lot of community projects, signs for local businesses, different things that pop up for different people that say, hey, are we able to do this? Yes, absolutely, come on in. We'll teach you how. So that's very much involved. We're still open community 2 nights a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we've been getting a pretty good crew of people coming in. So we've also worked with some businesses, building some partnerships. Watercraft is probably the one that we're furthest along with. We have, just this year, they actually kind of approached us, and we are partnering with them. My small gas engines class, we've been over there as a class to kind of tour their facilities and what they do, and then some of our students have spent 2 days there job shadowing, tearing apart engines and doing all sorts of stuff. They have a mechanic there who's worked on race cars and everything else. He's super knowledgeable. He's been really good with the kids. And the kids come back. I always talk to them, hey, how was it? What'd you learn today? And all that. They come back like, it was a great day. I said, great. That's what we want to hear. So we're going to continue that. Some of the kids are pursuing some potential summer job opportunities with them, which is, that's what we want. We want these kids getting some opportunities to test out. Maybe this is where I want to go for a career. Some of them might just be for the summer, but it's been a really good and I think productive partnership with Watercraft. AirPro reached out to us earlier this year, so Ryan and I met with them. I went over and I toured their facility. We're going to get our kids over there. They have welding opportunities, machining opportunities for the kids, and so looking at what we can do to build that partnership going forward. Korcherski Brothers we just met with, looking at maybe some opportunities to get the kids over there, maybe some job opportunities for them there as well. So we actually just met with them for the, can't remember, that week, this week? Is that Monday? I can't remember. Things are busy. Track started, which I came right over from there, so I can't keep my days straight right now. As far as in the classroom itself, we've continued to make changes. Our welding program has changed. That's been in the news a couple different times now. We're partnering with Nicolay and their welding program. 1 day a week, one of their welding instructors is at school working with the kids. We have 2 different welding classes this year, and on Fridays they are each in the metals lab for 2 periods each. So they get extra time in there working with the Nicolay welding instructor, actually working on welding certifications. So if a kid starts early in, freshman, sophomore year, and they're ambitious, they could potentially have their welding certifications before they even graduate. And that's been really good. I met with Terry not too long ago, and we were discussing this, and whether we want to continue. I said, absolutely. I said, between Mr. Volkman, Mr. Votis, and myself, without a doubt, we want to continue doing this. I think it's been really productive. I think it's been really good for the kids. The kids are super interested. They were over at Nicolay touring Nicolay's new facility last week, 2 weeks ago. Nicolay invited them back. They're doing a commercial, has some of our kids as part of that. So I mean, it's been really good, and they've really, I think Nicolay's really invested in our program as well. So that's been very good. Changed a few of our other classes. We're looking at maybe some changes for next year as well, and how we do things, trying to alleviate some bottlenecks. When you have more students in a welding class than you have welding booths, that makes it tough. When you have a line of kids waiting for access to a table saw, trying to see how we can maybe rearrange some things or schedule things a little bit different. so hopefully we can just get things as beneficial for the students as possible. And then tomorrow I'm headed down to the Dells first thing in the morning for the Wisconsin Tech Ed Association Conference. I'll be there for the next 2 days, hopefully getting some new ideas from other schools and different presenters and making some connections there. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, great to hear the kids are so bought in. I mean, that's
It's been really
It's great to
good.
see that coming back.
And our numbers seem like they're up a little bit this year, and I suspect that they'll continue to grow. We've also taken a few things that were high school, and we're bringing them down to the junior high, which means as they filter into the high school, they're able to,
the interest in
Yeah.
because one, they built interest, and two, because they're coming in with these lower level skills already, we can build them up to a higher point. So I get to put up with Stacy's son.
He loves you.
I know. It's great. And we are, so we are looking at adding some new classes next year as well. Part of this is just building opportunities for the kids, and then part of it is maybe potentially in a few years building to something bigger. And that is, we've got, I'm calling it home maintenance and repair. It's just simple auto maintenance, changing your oil, changing tires, stuff like that, just basic skills, but then also into the home, doing electrical, plumbing, drywall, all of that, sort of thing, which maybe some point in the next few years might be we're actually building a home in the school parking lot that then gets hauled out. So we haven't actually had a chance to talk to local contractors about that, but.
Could be a tiny house,
It would be, yeah.
right?
You learn its skills.
Yeah, so there's that. Am I missing any other classes we're looking at? Electronics, which we've had, but we didn't have it this year.
Yeah.
And kind of just rearranging that a little bit. Just hopefully trying to get kids access to be able to take more of these classes so they're not conflicting with each other and getting them doing different things. So,
So anything on the elementary level as far as getting those students involved into the Fab Lab area?
yeah, so we're in our requisition process right now, and all the teachers, part of their packet that they get is this yellow sheet, it says Fab Lab. And so I get those every year, looking at what those teachers want to do that might be using the Fab Lab. I know Todd's class, in fact, I just asked Todd, I said, hey, do you need this material for next year, and I'll requisition for it. And he said, oh yeah, we definitely need that for projects. Teachers are going, hey, we want to do this, this project or that project. Some teachers have been doing things for years. I know the 6th grade in 3 Lakes has been making Mancala boards using our CNC router. We've got Katie Bachnick, 4th grade. She's got some plans for next year as well. I would say things that teachers are doing on an ongoing basis. Some of our sugar camp teachers have, I think, made great use of the different resources. Allie, thank you, and Kara Miller in particular, Todd. 3 Lakes teachers probably a little less so, but it's just, every teacher's going to kind of play to their strengths.
Yep.
That's Allie and Kara's strength, and so they full on gone after it. So, yeah, but always looking for ways to help support the teachers and making use of what they have. I know the 3 Lakes, we moved the kids lab this year to the upper elementary wing. I don't know if that's helped them at all. Steve, you might be able to speak to that. I know Mr. Waltz has usually been pretty good about getting his kids in there.
Yeah, upper elementary's using it a lot.
Yeah.
For that and some other things, but that's been a help facility-wise.
So, just with my busier schedule this year, I've been able to interact with the elementary usually a little less than I have the last couple of years. So, I haven't been able to touch base with them quite as much this year as in the past.
All right. Very good. Thank you for that. That's
You're welcome.
definitely great news to hear that a lot of students are taking part of that and making that a growing program. So, okay, and so next we have district-related positive happenings. Here we go.
Me? Okay. As you mentioned, Lachlan Mao won state speaking contest on his speech about mystery snail. I don't know if Charlie's gonna bring us up, but also last Friday we went on a ski trip to Ski Rural with the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, which is always a really good time. So thank you for setting that up again. And Nate for coming along and helping me ski. I'm not much of a skier, and it's fairly icy out there. So I made it till like 1 o'clock, and then I was inside playing cribbage.
How about a snowboarder? Are you a snowboarder, Todd?
I'm not a snowboarder, no.
No?
No.
Okay.
You know, 5 gallon bucket of dishes.
I see.
It's always a good time. The kids always love it. It's always fun to see the ones that are a little apprehensive about going out, and
Mm-hmm.
Charlie helps them overcome that, and then you can't get them off the hill. So, but it's always a good time.
The
Only,
school lift got stuck.
yeah,
That was
I think there's only 2 injuries
Yeah, last
at the very last one. Yeah. So,
I was waiting for the
You were,
lift got
they were
stuck.
fine on Monday, they were just fine, and if I went to the classroom, I said, you guys wanna go back today? And they said, let's go.
absolutely. But it's always the last one.
Even the girl that got hurt, she said, I said, was it good? She said, yeah, it was good. I said, even the last run, she goes, yeah, that was fun too. All right.
And we have spelling bee coming up Friday. So.
I can go next, sure. So speaking of snowboarding, we had Mr. Nick Baumgartner come in and just did a phenomenal presentation. We brought all of the Sugar Camp Elementary students over, obviously the Three Lakes Elementary, junior high, and high school students were all in the gym, and just highly effective motivational speaker. Talked about how hard he worked to get to the success that he had. So just a dynamic speaker. Spent about half his time answering questions for the students. All the students got in a line on the way out, got a chance to look at his medal, a lot of individual photos, group photos, may have seen him on Facebook. Just a really cool, just personal connection I think that the students were able to make. It wasn't just somebody who came in and then left and kept his distance. It was really a hands-on experience for our students. So that was great. And then kind of piggybacking off of what Mr. Coach said as far as partnering with area businesses, we had an opportunity to have a similar relationship with Black Forest, where one of my goals is to have in all of our 16 career clusters have a local business partnership or partnerships where teachers can take their classes on field trips to get that hands-on experience inside of that business. So 2 weeks ago we took our students over to Black Forest, and our international food students had a chance to work with the head chef and make pizzas. And then for the second half of the field trip, our food students, so there's 31 students in total, had a chance to go over there. They all got a chance to eat the pizza. They got a tour. Some of the focus was on the hospitality and tourism aspect of the business, and then they had a chance to learn about the German cuisine and really establish those initial relationships with the owner and then some of the employees there. So we look forward to hoping that expands to some job shadows, potentially an internship or internships, and then summer employment or youth apprenticeships in the future.
Great.
Okay. Adding on to Ryan's, just an end note on the Nick Baumgartner thing. Thank you to Ponzi and Diana Olkowski for reaching out to us, and that was one of his sponsors. So she was integral in getting that set up for us. Elementary third grade classes finished their swim lessons in the last month, so that's done for the year. That went really well. We do have the second and fourth grade water safety around the water program is set up for, I think it's April 1st. Now we had to reschedule, but we're set to go on that one as well. So we're back on track after COVID with those items. Probably saw in the Blue Jay buzz, but James Holbrook won the essay contest, best business in Wisconsin. $500 he got for winning that, so that was exciting for him. And then yesterday we had our elementary spelling bee. Had first, second, and third place. William Connor, Becca Coach, and Isabella Glody for third. So that also went really well for us. Congratulations to those kids.
I got a list. That's a good thing. I have
Yeah.
a list of positive happenings, so don't forget anybody. But first I want to play off of what Mr. Coach alluded to with not wanting to take the foot off the gas for the welding program. Just today, gave clearance for an internal field trip coming April 22nd, maybe stands out in my mind, somewhere later this month. Well, our kids were at Nicolay filming the commercial for Nicolay, and were observed at their welding booths by, is it Trident Marine? A business owner who hired welders. He was very impressed with several of our kids and asked Mr. Vouchers if he could come to our place and observe them welding for an extended amount of time because he wants to know how much he wants to offer them to come work for him. And Al told him that one you can't have, he's just a sophomore, and the guy wouldn't believe it. That was a sophomore. So we're getting some traction. That's what we want. We want to give kids these opportunities to hone their skills and walk out of our place ready to roll, if that's what they wish to do. So that was a positive thing. Also, we had 7 kids qualify for the state forensics meet. Callie Volk, Kara Sawinski, Manny Dupuy, Sarah Grzinski, Amanda Reek, Jasmine Newman, and Megan Lester all are going on to the state competition, which is in DeForest here right after spring break. Solo and ensemble, we had 2 students from Three Lakes make it on to earn the 1+ rating that allows you to go on to the next level, which is state. That was Evie Mallerwine and Naomi Cadlick. Naomi is a 7th grader, and that's a high school competition. So great things coming out of Naomi for sure. Last but certainly not least, we've got with one of the positive happenings, 2 things actually that make me like warms your insides to see the community in which we work and we live and we're teaching and learning. One was Sunday. We've talked about that a little bit. Standing room only at the Writer Center. They're eating pancakes and supporting kids. It was really a cool thing. It's neat to get our kids involved in serving everybody pancakes and sausages, and the community steps up big time. I mean, the amount of money that's made there in one morning is astronomical. Really cool. That's a positive happening for our kids. Also, not going to mention names for confidentiality and respect to staff member, but we have a staff member that their spouse is going through a very serious, and actually a very serious surgery today. On that regard, 2 positive happenings. The initial news coming out of the surgery was good, positive news, and it was heartwarming to see the way our staff wrapped their arms, literally and figuratively, around someone who's been struggling with some really tough news for their spouse, health-wise. So that's been a really cool thing to see too. So that's all I got.
Good stuff.
I don't think all is the word. That's a lot, and that's very impressive from the school as a whole. It's been every level, in and out of the community and everything. That's very impressive.
I'm going to add on Todd's positive happening with the ski trip. That ski trip wouldn't be possible without the support of the 2 administrations and obviously the school board and some local people. The Sure Camp SCO donates, the Sure Camp Youth Club and the Three Lakes PTO help decrease the cost of that day for the kids. As well as it was attended by the kids, we did have 21 parents go as well. So it was well attended by a lot of the parents that went, and they had a blast as well. Some of them, it was their first time on skis too. So, I think the kids had a little fun with their parents a little bit, and, but it's a really good thing. You know, if you're gonna be up here and winter gets long, you need to get out of the house, and it's just a great way to enjoy that, so. Thank you for allowing me to do that with the kids and allowing the teachers to get out of the classroom for the day and enjoy a little winter fun.
Excellent. All kinds of ways to embrace our winters, right?
You betcha.
Very good.
I guess real quick too, the Fine Arts Gala was impressive. Some good young artists, both artistically or musically, artistically, how, you know, every way around. There's a lot of individual talent coming through, you know.
I've got
every
one
corner.
thing to add to that as well. It's kind of odd. So I caretake for, you know, the Mosses, right, John?
Mm-hmm.
They own Screenflex. That was what the art projects were donated. So they saw a request from our district, and they emailed me immediately and said, "Hey, tell this Erin Walschlager that we're going to donate these things." We emailed her, but we just want to, want her to believe that we're real and we're going to do this. So all of those displays were donated by Screenflex, by Paul and
John
and Joan Moss, who won a couple places on Highland Lake and Three Lakes. So, so it's kind of neat and they've always given back when the kids would go to DC, and they were very supportive of that. But it was kind of neat to see them donate those items as well.
Yeah, great folks. Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
It was very impressive. And my husband was the judge of the artwork, and he was surprised at how hard it was to pick the final people. He's done it before for the multi-school event, but just our school had a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some very impressive art there. They even gave school board members a ribbon that we could put on the. So they'll probably turn that in for big bucks someday. So yeah, it was fun. It was great, and good to see them excel in all different ways. Right. Very good. Correspondence, WSAB correspondence. What do we have?
The only WASB correspondence I have is really a save the date. Coming up on Thursday, April 21st, there will be a gathering for newly elected or appointed board members, and of course, Captain McCluskey, he'll be hosting it for Region 2, and that's going to be in our junior and senior high IMC, and that, like I said, is on the 21st from 7 to 9. So.
Perfect. All right, and we're going to wrap things up with an executive session. We're adjourning to executive session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85. 1C, to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Specifically, 2, consider individual staff contracts, hiring and or resignation / retirement of staff. And scroll down, make sure I don't have anything else. No, I don't. All right, so roll call vote. Stacy?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Colette?
Aye.
Mike? Aye. It's 4-0, so we will be convening to executive session. Thank you all for being with us tonight. And, yeah, enjoy spring.